So if you're new here, let me know in the comments below. Say hello. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'm really enjoying this show. Again, I do have this set up to have some notes sent out to you. And these are today's show notes. So if you're interested and you want to know more, go ahead to the address down below or up above. It's outstanding.video/notes. Or if you're watching on Facebook, just go ahead and type notes in the comments below. And then we'll have today's notes sent to you. It's actually pretty fun. But again, my name is Jason, and this is the Outstanding Life Show. We talk about everything that's recovery. We talk about mindfulness. We talk about addiction and some of the challenges that are faced. For me, there was a lot of stigma around addiction, and I think around mental health as a whole. There are certain things that I had felt were taboo, and that was the segue into what the show topic is for today: doing things my way. And so before we jump into that, I just want to celebrate and say thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate that. I know you've got a lot of time that you can spend in other places, but you're spending your next couple of minutes hanging out with me. The first season of the Outstanding Life Show, I focused on like long content. I picked big topics and I dove deep into them, and they were pretty long. I want to say like 30, 45 minutes, but we ended up walking away with a huge, like we went deep into that topic. And while there was a lot of great content, some of my longest watch time came from those videos. But when it comes to engagement, like the hearts and the stars, the likes and the shares, I'm getting more of that on the short form. And I want to show you something here. Hold on. I'll move this over. So I want to show this to you. And these were some of the comments that I'm getting, and these are some of the things that are being shared with me. So here I'm getting, this one's from Instagram, but I'm getting comments all over, and I'm finding it absolutely amazing. So if you're watching this, let me know what your thoughts are. I wake up and I get messages every day, and I want to just celebrate you for taking the time to share your thoughts and feelings and how much that's important to me. Because without your feedback, I wouldn't know what's working. And for the longest time, I really wasn't sure if this was working or if it wasn't, or if I was heading in the right direction. I just had a couple ideas as to what I wanted to do with it, but it ended up taking a life of its own. So here's a perfect one. So we've got Find Love and Recovery. And the message was, thank you so much for sharing. Be sure to check out our profile. It's pretty fun, some of these things you guys talk about. But again, it means a lot. So I wanted to celebrate that. So again, we focused on long form content when it came to the season 1, but now I'm going to condense it down, and we're going to have maybe 10-15 minute shows for season 2, but we're going to have them more frequent. So in season 1, I would go once a week, 30-45 minutes, some case an hour. But now we're going to go light and we're going to go wide. So we're also going to have topics. So month 1, we have 12 months in a calendar year. And we also have 12 steps. So the idea is we're going to go into each step as a whole month. So for January, we'll talk about step 1. And by the time we finish January, we will have finished step 1. And then February, we'll jump into step 2. March will be step 3, so on and so forth. Okay, so again, before we move on, I wanted to say thank you. Hold on, let me just switch cameras over so we can get some color. There we go. All right. So when it comes to alcohol and addiction, I know it's a sensitive subject for some. And for me, that was a lot of the stigma around it. I was afraid in the beginning. I was a little off-centered when it comes to, I mean, yeah, there's always that ego part. I don't know if you can relate to this, but when it comes to admitting that there was a fault or admitting that there was an issue, I really wasn't too sure what life would look like after admitting that there was a problem. But there was this other part where there was the stigma of what life would be like afterwards. But there was also this other stigma that lived within me about worrying about what would happen if I asked for help. Not so much in the weakness component, but being afraid to reach out to another person, that this person that I'd reach out to suddenly I would be an issue to them. I'd be a burden. I'd be a complicated additional hassle that wasn't adding value. Like the things I stacked on top of it of, if I admit that I have a problem, then that means this person has to respond to me, and I don't want to be a burden to them. I don't want to bother my family. I don't want to bother my friends. And that's like the alcoholic brain jumping in and twisting my thoughts. And then as soon as I start, come up with an excuse, the moment I give myself an opportunity to fail, an opportunity to not do anything about it, then I'm going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And then what's that quote by Einstein where insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping you're going to get a different result? I never got a different result. It didn't matter what I did. I would try and do things my way. And that's the show title of today. If I tried doing things my way, it never changed. I always had the same outcome, and I never figured out why. What was going on? What's happening? At no point did I stop and think that it was me. One, my perception of the situation, and then two, that there was help available readily. And that's the one thing I noticed. Like the moment that I reached out, the moment I tapped out and I said, I need help, the moment I reached out for help, I saw nothing but support. I saw nothing but the complete opposite of what my brain was telling me to be afraid of. And it took a long time for me to break away from that misunderstanding that I had felt so alone, because I had told myself long before this happened, I told myself that no one can there's no way anybody can possibly understand. There's no way anybody knows my feeling, knows this feeling I'm feeling. No one else in the whole 7.5 billion people out there, nobody can possibly understand. And in me telling myself that, in me conditioning that thought, I began to believe it. I began to wonder. I was like, if nobody can understand me, then why should I ask for, if I ask for help, nobody's going to understand. So why should I ask for help? I don't want to bother anybody. And then pretty soon I began to believe it. And then after a while, I'm holding on to white knuckling my way through life. And while, yes, I'm getting through my day to day, that's not really living life. That's me barely getting by as I feed my excuses, as I feed my addiction, as my mind, my mental health, my physical health start to deteriorate. And I began to wonder what's really going on. And it wasn't until I gave up. Like I gave up doing things my way. The moment I checked my ego at the door, I ended up going to a support group for help, and I ended up going to treatment. And that's one of the best things that I'd ever made the decision to do. I had to come to terms with my addiction. And we talked about that before in the past episode. But the great thing about going to meetings is we're all there for our own reasons. Like we're all brought to the meeting for our own separate paths. Like whatever led to that meeting is unique to us. But what makes us stay is the message. And what appealed to me, I should tell you something first. I ended up going, and before I opened up to anybody, before I shared my story with anyone, and before I admitted I had a problem, I was going to the movies. And I was with a bunch of people from work, and we had all been given movie passes, and it was like Oprah, everybody got a movie pass. And the movie passes were really cool, and we decided to go see this movie. And it was the Denzel Washington movie with the plane, the one that flies upside down. Well, he's flying the plane, and he flies the plane upside down. In the movie, it's revealed that he's consuming alcohol, and he's also consuming drugs. And through that, he struggles with that inner conflict about, does he come to terms with it? Does he keep fighting it? He knows what he's doing is wrong, yet. And that's the story of the movie. That's where I ended up going with my friends, and safe work friends. You go pick, what movie should we go see? We pick this movie. I sit down and I'm watching it, and then I'm seeing myself through this character, this movie, and I'm identifying with the character. And in the movie, Denzel goes and he goes to a meeting, an AA meeting, and then while he's there, the people are laughing, they're having fun, they're cracking jokes, like they're making fun of themselves and what excuses they came up with. But up until that point, I had never seen inside of a meeting. Like I'd heard of people going to meetings, and I could see that this character I'm watching goes to a meeting. Like I recognize that it's a movie. But for me, it clicked in my head, and I was like, if Denzel can do this, then I can do it. If Denzel can go to meetings, I can go to meetings. And after, there's a part in the movie where he comes to terms with his addiction, but he ends up saying it in a way that I had never put into words before, but I really connected with his explanation. And he had said that he reached the bottom, and if there was a bag, and like his example was lies, like the lies he would tell himself, the lies he would tell other people. And if there was a bag of lies, if there was a total amount of lies that you can tell in your whole world, in your whole life, and you had that bag, and you kept telling lies, and you take the lies out of the bag, eventually you'd reach the bottom of the bag. And then his example, his story, he said, I reached the bottom of that bag, and I could tell no more lies. And at that moment forward, I decided to change. And then I was like, wow, that's huge. And I'd never been to a meeting before. And I ended up going, and with some help from my friends, and I got a lot of support for making this decision. But when I ended up going to the meeting, there was like my first meeting was really scary. I really didn't know what to expect. But one thing I found is I immediately connected with everybody that was there. Like I said earlier, that we all had our own stories that brought us to the meetings. But what made us stay was the message. What made us stay was the connection, this fellowship, and this, well, we call it a brotherhood. But there's more than just guys that go there. But nonetheless, I was able to find a connection with people, and I felt I belonged. I no longer felt like I was foreign or alien, or I no longer felt alone anymore. And so these excuses I would tell myself that nobody could possibly understand, in just hearing them explain their story, I immediately connected with where they came from. Maybe I wasn't in the exact scenario as them, but I identified with what made them come here. And through supporting each other, like there's always more than one person that shows up at these meetings. Sometimes there's 20, 30, 50 people. I've been in meetings with 4 people before. Those are some of the best meetings, by the way, where you connect with each other at a deeper level. But what brings us together is our own sobriety, our own desire for health, our own desire to want to get better. And so I couldn't say that I was able, I know for sure I wasn't able to do this alone. There's no way I could be sober on my own. But once I got a support group, once I got a sense of community, once I was able to then reach out for help and connect with other people who were at my level from a recovery standpoint, I was able to then find that brotherhood, that connection. I was able to help find that belonging, and I felt at ease. I felt at peace. I felt I could reach out to these people. And the great thing about this network is we develop a support system where we know how to get a hold of each other. So if I did need to reach out, I could. And others would reach out to me, which blew me away, because before I could barely count on myself, whereas now I'm able to help. Like by ourselves, we couldn't do it, but then together we can help build this network of support. And that is huge. That's amazing. Because how many times can you say you do that? Once in my life, that's the time everything comes together. So jumping in really quick, my name is Jason. This is the Outstanding Life Show. We talk about addiction. We talk about recovery. We talk about mindfulness. There's a lot of things we go into. Today we're talking about me doing things on my own. And every time I would do things on my own, it never worked out. I don't know if you can relate to this. If you can, leave a comment, say hello. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. Because every time I tried doing things my way, it never worked out. But the moment that, because I would also tell myself that nobody could possibly understand what I'm going through. And I would give that I would tell myself as an excuse to not actually tell anybody. And the longer I held this in, the more I stuffed my emotions, the more it bottled it up, the more pressure I felt, and the more I wanted to let go, the more I wanted to like release, and I was I suffered longer than I should have, in full transparency, and I needed to open up and be transparent, honest with myself and honest with others. But it wasn't until I found a support group that I was able to then like finally relax, finally be at home. Home. That's the word. I felt at home. Whereas before I felt alone. So some of the best meetings I've been to have been in group meetings or small meetings. There's over 400 meetings in the city of Calgary a week. So if I don't like one particular meeting, it's not the end of the world. I can just go to another one. But the hardest step was always the first step. Okay, so I've got some notes set up. So I do have a blog, first thing, and I've got all the show notes on the blog. And if you want to go and find out more and have the notes just delivered to you, just go ahead and type notes in the comments below if you're watching on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, go to the address down below or up above. It's outstanding.video/notes, and we'll have the same notes sent out to you. Again, it'll be by through Facebook Messenger. But I did want to do something else for season 2, and I just want to bring it up here. Hold on. Let me take off the overlay. And here we go. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in, and here we actually have the blog. So, okay, I just posted the blog, and these are today's show notes. There's the live video that we're on right now. And then there's today's show notes. Doing things my way, my sobriety is more important than my ego. Thanks to my supportive community. I can't stress that enough. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for that community. Having a safe place to share is critical to recovery. If I don't feel safe, I'm not going to share. I share openly with you because I feel safe. So again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for hanging out. I did want to try something different for season 2. I wanted to have a gratitude of the day and an action of the day. So today's gratitude is, I'm going to be thankful for my higher power for giving me the strength to reach out for help from my friends and my family. So it takes a lot to reach out for help, but it takes a lot, even more, to let that help in. Some people don't reach out for help. I didn't reach out for help for the longest time because of my ego, this stigma that I built up in my head. And the only person giving it weight was me, nobody else. Figure that. Okay, and then today's action of the day. Today's action of the day is today I'm going to reach out to a recovery friend to let them know how I'm doing. And I want to say thank you for spending some time with me. I know you've got a few options out there for where you want to spend your time, but it means a lot to me that you're hanging out. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, my name is Jason. This is the Outstanding Life Show. I did want to do a shout out earlier, and this one is for, hold on. Here we have, let me bring this in as an overlay. Okay, so this one here is for Scream for Recovery. You did that very well. This is over on Instagram. They left a comment on one of my videos. And here we have, someone wrote, they sent me a message. They said, thanks, Jason, for your 12-step blog info on Facebook. I am applying this concept to my weight loss and food issues. Keep up the good work. You never know who you are helping. Wow. Wow, that brought a tear to my eye. That's a great way to start my day. Again, thanks so much for stopping by. It means the world to me that you're here. Thank you again for hanging out. I look forward to seeing you in another episode. Take care. Bye-bye.